I mean, so it's not actually me saying it. You know what I'm saying? You got. I'm not saying anything. It's just what European scientists are saying. You know what I'm saying? So it's all difficult, man. I'm putting it together. I'm not gonna say I'm putting it together as I go along, but I'm not planning this. But the information gets so hectic and so deep. You know what I mean? That you gotta grasp an overstanding after you understand. You know what I'm saying? So it's like again, we keep going. I can go through it with you, but I'm not going to do it in, like I would say, a formal way. I'll do it in a what I would say a way we can all kind of get through it. You know what I'm saying? Like you are a transmitter. You know what I mean? We are here to be controlled by way of telepathic communication. None of us has our own thought, nor have you ever had your own thought. The technology that the humans got now, man, like I said, they can be in space, man, and if you pull out your wallet, they can read your motherfucking license, man, from space. You understand what I'm saying? So the beings that was put in the garden to watch to see if they can procreate, the Adamu, and their Eve story, you know what I'm saying? It's like I keep telling you, we stand on the outside of that. That's Enqi, Isis, and the Anunnaki that came down here to mine for the gold because the slaves that they brought with them, called Igigis, also called the Watchers, and they were to watch and monitor and they are to watch from above and monitor the humans to make sure that they're doing their work as far as offering up the gold and mining for the gold, because we came first, and trying to abstract the gold from sea levels and stuff like that. But we had to put another plan into effect, and then comes the human plan. So when they even us, it's a telepathic thing. The humans are guided by telepathic communication. They can actually, the human is so far advanced now that he can actually take your thoughts through sound, through vibration, through frequency. All this is frequency. Monitor. They already have programs where they're monitoring the frequency of us. And that's to pre-know who's going to be rebellious. So when the humans were put here, they were absent of Mentu. So as they evolved and we loaned our self to them to speed them up, for them to jump down out of the trees and come from the monkey and walk upright and be able to use their hands and be able to even handle tools that this caveman was going to find. And all this is being done, genetical manipulation by a brother named Enqi. The whole biblical story is two brothers. It's giving you theater of two brothers going at each other. One brother is the brother of the sky, the eagle. That's Enlil. He stayed above. He's the one that caused the flood. The other brother is the scientist over human creation. He's called Enqi. Enqi means the Lord of the earth. And he was granted permission to begin a human project to continue to offer up the gold after the Igigis rebelled against them. And to make sure there was no rebellion, your brain is no more than a receiver. Theirs being a low wave receiver on the binary light structure. They being the 0, we being the 1. The 1, we supposed to get the message. The 0 is the submental people who that message will bounce off of. That's the zigzag zig when they send us telepathic communication, because to talk is to confuse the languages, like your Bible said, and they began to get out of transmission with talking. So everything was done in one accord, one mindset through telepathy, and our side just knew what to do because we had law and we were in order. No thoughts were out of sync. And the humans that was in the garden in this place that Enqi had built down here. I'm not sure. I think it's called Urdu. Certain part of the planet they were on, and he had this project. And it was Enlil, who was the God of the Bible, who came over and told the project, because he was against the project and wanted to wipe them out. He said, did Enqi say you can't, do that? Or did the God say, you can't do this? And remember, the serpent came over and talked to Eve and began to teach her things, to give her a higher mind form, to give them intellect, a little bit of intelligence. But when they chose the knowledge of good and evil, and Enlil, the god of the Bible, said you would die, one of the brothers said, sure, you would die. They didn't die. So it turns out that the serpent was right, the serpent who came over. And that's because he was trying to save you. He created you. He created you, women first, using ISIS. They donated their sperm to the project to speed them up. But Enqi himself has one of the gods of the Bible, the serpent, himself have a child. And that child is Thoth. And Thoth was given the job to enlighten the humans, try to be there to give them some type of solar system, some type of decent humanity, because they're not of the light and they're of the animal genetic. And so the writings of Thoth, and you see he brought in the writing systems and all kind of things that he taught on this earth. And Salam Alaikum Salam, praise be to Thoth. And he was there to do the and he was there to present some kind of spiritualism, so to speak, but it wasn't spiritualism. And the snake symbol began to be oppressed, like if the snake symbol wasn't the creator. Enlil was the brother, and he came down to watch over Enqi. Enqi would be the creator of the humans, but his brother Enlil had a higher seat, so he came down to watch over him, and he realized that he was trying to make these beings where they can procreate. Enlil didn't want them to procreate, and he wanted to get rid of the whole human project. And Enqi, who was how can I say it? Which one of them was the jealous God? I'm not sure. So that's when you get in the Bible, he said, I'm a jealous God. And that was one of the brothers who said there was a jealous God. But this is no more than two brothers feuding. One wanting to get rid of mankind or human creation, and one wanting to progress them, to continue the line for them to offer up the gold and be slaves for them, so that they can offer this gold back in a thin form, try to astral project it out into the universe where they're at, to kind of sew up the hole in their ozone layer, and also for many other reasons. So all the serpent knowledge on the planet began to be suppressed, and you begin to look at the snakes and everything, or the Druids, or Gnostic Gospels, or things like that, or Hinduism. And you notice in all of them, they still deal with the snake and the serpent. And the Buddhists and the Tibetans, and if you notice, all of that offers Buddhism. It offers peace, tranquility to the mind. It offers teaching you about the pineal gland, how to get in touch with your telepathy. That would be the tree of life that they should have took. The tree of life will line you back up with the telepathic communications, so you can receive your thoughts directly from them in one accord in telepathic communication. This is the solar side. That's us. And that's what we were supposed to do. We wasn't supposed to have stepped out and used choice. This is why in the Bible it comes out and y'all say, well, I should have left it in God's hands. We put it in God's hands. Meaning you shouldn't have chose the knowledge of good and evil. You should have chose the tree of life. But the brother Enlil, who is the Lord of the sky, he's the eagle, and he's fighting against the serpent. So when you do your research, y'all go back and look at Russia, Germany, America using the eagle and all of that. These are the bad guys. These are the Anunnaki. And I can't really say bad guys. They're following one accord. They're policing the world. And that's what they're supposed to be doing. They're policing the world. And that's exactly what they're supposed to be doing. So the serpent knowledge and all that got hidden. And you got I think it was the Druids out there somewhere. And that's the last of that knowledge when they tried to get rid of the Druids. And I think the Irish, that was set up in Irish communities, and they got rid of the Druids, the ones who was talking about the dragons and the snakes and everything like that. And that was that, and they celebrated that. It was a saint that they called Patrick, who ran out all the last of the Tibetan or Buddhist type teachings, or the teachings of the Druids, teaching about the serpent and that family and that reptilian family, and the eagle. They didn't want that, so they celebrate the throwing out of the or making extinct the knowledge of the serpent. And like I told y'all, reptiles are green. So what they wear on St. Patrick's Day, green. There was a saint called Patrick who headed this to get all of that serpent knowledge out of there. That's why you go over there, wherever they're at, and them Irish or whatever, you ain't gonna find no serpents, reptilians, or nothing like that over on that, part of the planet. But they still all around. You notice Buddhism teaches about the mind. The Tibetans and all that come and teaching like a solar system, or y'all would say a spiritual system, other than the animalistic system that the humans come out of. So we try to teach them how to walk upright with genetics, and that will be Enqi. And what happened was during the flood of Utnapishtim, who y'all call Noah, when Enlil knew that the planet X, or the planet of the crossing called Nibiru, where these beings are from, they knew that every 3,600 years it takes a cycle back around the planet Earth, and it would cause earthquakes, and it would cause famine, diseases, and floods. So what Enqi did was he grabbed a family of human that he genetically, wanted to teach and be saved from the flood. And that came out as your Noah story and things like that. And Noah, that's the Noah story. But it's just so much when you go through these ancient texts, and everything I'm talking predates the Bible. The Enuma Elish is the oldest thing. The Atra Assist will be the story of creation. These are the oldest texts that you find on the planet. Nothing predates these texts. And you're speaking of people coming down. And back to what I was saying about us being like robotic, or being like, if you got two walkie-talkies and you pick up one, it won't work. So you do have a brain. Your brain gets thoughts. Who you're a receiver. Who's sending you the thoughts? The thoughts, like I said, is already placed out there in vibration and then through dimensions. And then you can pick it up telepathically. And this is how you in the room, sometimes you go, just do one thing, just do the other thing, or you be talking, you say, I forgot what I said. That's because transmission has been blocked for some reason. A lot of the times that happens, you just be in the middle of something, you forget everything you're going to say. Transmission was blocked for some reason. So the humans have got up to the point where they can now, like Minority Report, like they showed you, they can now premeditate who's going to rebel, who's going to, just by reading the energy that comes off your body from satellites in space. And they can monitor you by that, monitor you on YouTube like they monitoring me, monitoring who might be a problem. And they can do things about this. You know what I mean? And like I said, we are from another side. Enqi had a son, Enqi who created the humans, using Isis, using themselves, and the humanoid, most advanced humanoid that was here, which was the ape that they brought here with them also. And, that's the human, that's mankind. But we are like receivers to receive telepathic knowledge. But when they broke us down to language, we got confused, because with telepathy, you can get the straight message. Language can be confusing. And that's when the Bible said, I'm going to break up the tongues. So you have people talking about they speak in tongues and all of that crap. And that's just the most ridiculous thing, because you want to be able to heed a message. When you hear these people talking about they speaking in tongues, what the fuck did they just say? Can't understand shit they said. They're foaming at the mouth. That's a demonic possession for you thinking that you're speaking in tongues and even putting your energy into that. No. The language, when you came from these beings that lived on the planet, millions, cycles and cycles, let's just put it like that, even before the human creation, you got a line of beings, which is us, the solar beings. That's the family we come out of, that was already here practicing high, what we call serpent and dinosauric knowledge and the high sciences and all of that kind of stuff. And someone with us brought in a system of writing for the humans to be able to have some kind of form of reforming them and they eventually took over, and they're taking orders now from high beings, and they're controlling the planet. And that's just what's going on. So America does have the technology, like Minority Report, to predict when you're getting ready to do or think the wrong thing. Your mind is no more than a computer, just is more advanced. That's why you think, you get a thought. You don't know what the thought is because it comes from a higher place. You got to process it, and then you act on it. So the same way, these beings were made to be slaves, and they didn't need too much thought. But it came a time where we sped them up in thinking. And there's a lot of shows out there that show you that through thunder and lightning, we, gave them fire. And like I said, when you hear the Stone Age, and he began to get fire technology and rubbing and putting stones together and all that in Stone Age. And he got the fire, but he didn't know how to harness it yet. You know what I mean? Just suppose you living in a cave one day, you hear a lot of thunder, and then one day you walk out and you see a bush on fire because the lightning struck it. That's us giving them fire. And they looked at it for a long time, didn't know what to do with it, was scared to go near it. And then fires was burning all around them, and they began to basically learn and appreciate the fire, started understanding that it warms them, started understanding that it could be harnessed. Then, this was just us advancing them a little bit, because we already are solar people. We already are people of the light. So that's when I say giving of technology and stuff like that. Like I explained in my last show, it could be an alien crash and letting them pick out this technology that we have so they can go over it, re-examine it, and come up with new technology. And that's what we do for the humans every now and then. We drop information in on them. So the Bible, again, is about two brothers. There's two gods in the Bible. One is a jealous God, one that's trying to flood the earth and will kill you, will teach you about don't do this or you're going to hell. And you got one brother, Enqi, your creator, human creator, who tries to save the humans, and he's about humanity, and that's what he's about. And the thing of Christ is no more than just it's an idea sent from our side, like a savior, like a Thoth. Thoth is known to write the Emerald Tablets also, to bring forth these humans some type of wisdom, not knowledge, not education, wisdom and enlightenment about the planet they were on and where they come from and the lineage that they come from. It's very hard when you go back into these texts because the stories they just vary. And it's tricky. You got us thinking the serpents is bad and that the other side is good, and this is nothing but two brothers battling for position. Enqi and Enlil. This goes all the way down to Cain and Abel, and when you see in Cain slewing Abel, you're talking about the humans trying to now take over the elders, the Els, the Ab-Els, the lower elders who come from the light. And that's no more than that battle. One had sense enough to, let's say, make the right foods and go out and get the right thing. One didn't have the sense to offer up a good meal, didn't know how. And that was the lesser. And Cain got jealous because another side of the family was more advanced. Like I told you, we took humanoids, advanced apes. Enqi, who you call God of the Bible, your creator, used from us, Isis, and advanced the humanoid. And then we dealt with them with mind, telepathy. And that's how we all deal, telepathy. You have to tap into the sun, not education system, not nothing down here. You got to tap into that binary sun. When they sent that 1 and that 0 in, that binary code, the 1 was for us, the 0 was the lower mental people, so it can bounce back off of them so we can get the message. So it was about telepathy also to control these beings, and that's how they control us, through thought. We are no more than slaves, even for our, even for our side. We suppose not that type of slave, but a mental slave. We supposed to be with the tree of life in one accord with their thoughts, So the Bible is just tricky, man, and it goes on to be even trickier if you're not basing it on nothing. If you're not going to pre-tablets that predates the Bible, and you can compare your Bible by something, then you're just going to be lost in the sauce, and you're going to be left believing. You know what I mean? That's all it is. Enqi is your God of the Bible. His brother comes down and floods the planet because he don't like, that humans will be able to procreate, and he knew they would cause mischief in the world on the planet at some time. And Enqi wanted to save you, so that was the Noah family, and he wanted a genetical and DNA print of everything he had in his laboratories and everything. So he assigned Utnapishtim, who later became Noah in your Bible, gave him blueprints to hover in a craft to hover over the earth so it can flood, taught him about certain places he can go. These beings had telepathy enough to command animals to come over to them, bow, and then eat it, cut it up, eat it, and get protein. Just like you can command a pit bull over to you. If you wanted to, you command him, come over here, sit. You don't know he's gonna do what you say. You can cut his neck off and do what you want with him. Everything was done this way. Telepathy was done by mind to mind. So I just gotta, man. I'm still getting it. You know what I mean? It's not like I can't be corrected on some things. I've just told you so long in the ancient text that I know about these stories. I know about the secrets of Adarfa, about pollen. Adarfa was one of our own. He wanted to visit the universe. He walked with Elohim. He walked past certain trees. They pulled the pollen from the trees, threw it in Adarfa's face. He sneezed, and his soul came out. They caught his soul and took him on a universal trip to show him the universe. Thus, to this day, some of us cannot be around pollen without sneezing. Be careful when you sneeze, because your heart stops and your soul is at risk. So you always want to be kind of positived up. You always want a positive gate around you. Other stories is the apology story. There was realms. One of the gods came back and they, was laughing. What you doing? Brought a human up here. You can't be bringing this human Adafa up here. And he was made to go back to the earth and live for cycles and understand what humans go through. Thus he came back and apologized to the Most High. Thus you get the first apology. I think this was Enqi talking about his creation, or it's one of the angels, the Elohim's up there, that laughed at the human when he got there. And he was ordered by Michael on high, which is the grandson of Anu, who would be your Christ today. And Michael, really the one that wanted to take over Nibiru, and he was the warring angel that Enlil used, or that Anu used, to try to, war against the, I would say the negation, the negative side of us that began to do this. So Michael wanted to take over, and so what he did was he cloned himself and he brought an army, and that's your war, in the, not the heavens, but up in the skies, right there in your constellation, or whatever you want to call it. And it's just a lot of stories in there that, one of the stories was that they, before they left here, they laser beamed a big part of area, flipped it upside down. Thus now the mining is down. The mining used to be, where you didn't have to go deep and do too much. It's just so many stories, but they do predate any Bible, and this is where they get the Bible from, translated out of these texts, man. So it's just real tricky, man. And what the humans have evolved to right now is to knowing that, you can eventually become like your masters. Behold, the man has become one of us. And that's what this whole thing is about. It's this duality. And we stand on the outside of that duality, and listen to those are their stories. I stand on the outside of that and just see what they go through. And I try to stay in the teachings of the Buddhists, Tibetans, the Druids, maybe the Gnostic Gospels, Thoth, the Emerald Tablets, and try to stay with things that's going to mentally keep me with the vibration or the frequency, and in the frequency of the solar beings, the true creators, and continue to get wisdom and enlightenment from them while the humans get educated. So that's just what it's all about, man. So we have to also remember, you know what I mean? So just look at it like this. They brought slaves here to mine for gold. The slaves rebelled. They wanted to make another human, another source of people to do the slaving for them. In comes mankind, or the human creation. Okay? The humans began being the slaves. All right, think of this. We come here, we're the humans, right? Humans evolved to being able to build now robots, cyborgs. You see this iRobot. You see all of this presentation of robotic people or transhumanism, meaning extended robotic parts on body parts. So now you can get a new upgraded liver, a new heart, or mechanical legs. So if you got the mechanical leg and the mechanical thing because you was in an accident, and then half your body is human, this is transhumanism, transferring humans into mechanics, into Autobots to make their jobs easier. So you would get human robot slaves. First one when I was growing up was a little robot called Alfie. He can bring things to you. Look at the Jetsons. That's a future thing. That Uniblab, that robot that brings things to them. So the humans are now trying to facilitate their life and have robots. When you go to another planet and you send probes, what is that doing? You advance to be able to send a robot. Or when you see them showing you a car crash and that commercial said, don't be a crash dummy. All right, so it wouldn't be a human and had they built something in its place to go do the hard work. That's the same thing humans are doing now. They're advancing, and we're into cloning and doing all of this. And body with doubles or whatever like that through genetical splicing. They're messing with animals, lab rats, doing this, putting ears on mouses and all that. And we're looking at a whole era right now of creation. That's all this is. This is another cycle of creation. Like I told you, by the time the man, he was created and upgraded from the ape, it was a lunar cycle, so he came out pale. The same human didn't come out pale when we added melanin to them, and they was the West Indian, and they was coming out of the ape, trying to walk upright, and we added melanin, which is an artificial element, because we from carbon. So we had to break that down and artificialize them with melanin. So under our educational system, we was taught, we're from melanin. We got melanin. And if that's true, if we got melanin in us, then we should trace back to the animal. I don't trace back to an animal. Nor do you. The ones in you that don't feel like an animal. And you always felt peace. That's the family you're from. And these beings that was here for all these years spread out all over the planet. And the Incas, the Aztecs, and the Mayas were some of the last civilizations teaching this serpent knowledge. You had an Inca king called Amaru, and he was Amaruca, and that was Inca king. And those civilizations was the serpent civilizations. That's what they was teaching. And these lands belonged to the Amaru king. And Amaruca king later became America. When one of their, discoveries